What's going on, everybody? This is going to be my take on how to trade a turtle soup. So, first of all, what is turtle soup, right? Take a high or low of a range, and then we go and visit the other end of the range. So, we take a low, and then we go to the highs, or we take a high, and we go to the low. In this bearish example here, this is exactly how it would look. We have an impulse leg lower that leaves behind a fair value gap. So, say there's a fair value gap right here. After price comes down here, we enter a consolidation phase where we're able to build a range. The range is from this high to this low, and price trades within that range. The soup happens when price sweeps the high into a fair value gap and targets the lows. I have equal lows on here because that's a very important part of this being an A plus setup. For me to take a turtle soup, there has to be equal lows or equal highs for me to target. But anyway, this right here is going to be our turtle soup entry when we take this high. Going to a bullish turtle soup, the same exact thing. We have an impulse leg that's going to leave behind a fair value gap, which is the purple box. After the impulse leg, we get a defined range. So price is trading between this high. I'll mark it. Price is trading between this high and this low. All right. We have our range high and we have our range low. We wait for the range to break and trade into the fair value gap, which is down here, which is going to be your soup. The soup breaks from the bottom of the range, and from here, we target the top of the range. Sounds super simple, and I'll also show the trade that I took today using this exact methodology. So first and foremost, everything starts on a higher time frame. All right. So going into today, I saw that we had this bearish fair value gap that's highlighted. Bearish fair value gap. That gives me my narrative. The 1 hour is a high enough time frame for me. This gives me my bias. I'm bearish. So all day, I'm just going to wait for bearish setups. With that being said, go down to the 1 minute time frame. And this is what we have. And this is what I took. And this is a turtle soup, and I'll show you why. Just like I said, we have our impulse leg down, and then we start chopping in a range. Now, if I move this, this is exactly what I just said. It's exactly what I just drew out, right? We have our fair value gap, and then we have price take a high into the fair value gap. Now, you might be asking me, why is this not the soup right here? This is not the soup. I would not take this soup. All right. The reason being, if we go back to this 1 hour chart, I like when the 50% is respected. So I take my indicator and right to the T on the 1 hour chart, this wick goes exactly to the 50% mark of the fair value gap. This high right here is not at 50% of the fair value gap. It would have barely just touched it. Just like down here, this is the high we're referring to. It barely taps into the fair value gap. All right. Me, I want to see that 50% get hit, especially on the 1 hour, since that's our higher time frame. So this one would be our soup because this is the wick that took us to 50% of our hourly candle or our hourly gap. This wick took us to 50% of the hourly. From there, we enter short. And I love this. I made so much money off of this setup. I've been so successful with it because of how little I risk. My stop loss is at this high. I'll make that red. Stop loss is right here. If price trades back above here, I'm out. And my entry is on this candle. Literally less than 2 point risk. To target, like I said, gentlemen, we're going to look for those equal lows. Equal lows right here. EQL means equal lows. soup the high into a fair value gap, target equal lows. And it's even better, of course, on the 1 minute chart if you weren't looking at higher time frames. You got this bullish fair value gap that got inversed and a bearish fair value gap overlapping. So there was multiple ways you could have looked at this from, but I looked at it from the turtle soup. Equal lows are our target, and that's exactly that's what we did, gentlemen. Turtle soup, super easy.